Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of Ballet International, I'm very happy to present you from Germany, Mrs. Gisela Sonnenburg. She is a great artist and she has accepted to participate to this interview. And I hope we will not have too many problems with internet connection, but I will prefer that she introduce herself and she gives all the details of what she is doing for the world of ballet. Good morning, Mrs. Rizella. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you, and I hope you are all fine too.
I'm fine, thank you. I'm so pleased to have
What's your
you
first
here.
question?
So
Shall I
let's
just say something about me? Yeah.
just introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm a ballet journalist, and I'm working with a known blog on magazine online. It's Ballett Journal.de, and I'm doing it for 8 years now, and we have nearly 1,000 articles online, and you really can see what's going on in the big companies in Germany, but also sometimes in in the other countries. And it's not I don't want to be quantity, but really to have an accent on the quality of our art. And I'm also working as a freelance choreographer, and I prefer small pieces that fit to crossover arts. And that's one of my missions, so to speak, that I really that gives us expression and themes and emotions and thoughts, and not only beauty and narcissism. And so my biggest problem, of course, is when people think that ballet is only physical technique and has nothing to do with soul, because I think the contrast is really important for us to connect inner soul and outer body for us, yeah. And even we need the music for this, of course, but we also need our own passion, and we need themes. We need our brain. It's not only getting higher and higher with the legs. That's not the way we should go. And I think we will have big problems in the next years, because we don't have enough directors and choreographers, teachers and ballet masters, and even not enough dancers who think like this. They are really wild on having applause. They do anything for getting rich and famous. But in our times, being rich and famous does not automatically mean you're a good artist. And that's a real big problem. And maybe that's a taboo. And I think now we have a double problem in the Western part of the world, because we lost Russia through this war, and there is no sanction against culture, but they really stopped changing East and West. And from Russia, our true ballet art is coming. And even if you see Balanchine, who was named the founder of the American ballet, he learned in Russia, and without his Russian education and style, he never would have done what he did. So just to give an example, and so for the Russians, of course, it's not easy too, because, for example, Bolshoi has a lot of Western choreographies in the repertory, and they maybe now have to change and go back to their own roots to create something really new. So, but not to know that there will be this exchange that is logical for an international art is really very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's a problem, and we all should work breaking up this stop. Really break it up. Dancers never will be a bomb. We never will hurt someone, but we really want to continue freedom and love and passion and really serve the arts and the audience.
Yes.
And ballet should develop as one art in the world and not two. I think that's a real problem we have this year. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what about
Maybe you want to.
the Russian tradition about ballet? Is it nurtured in Germany also, or just in some parts of Germany?
Well, we have a lot of ballet in Germany, I can say that, and a lot of very nice ballet. Really, we have good companies, and the biggest one are six. It's Staatsballett Berlin, it's Hamburg Ballet, it's Stuttgart Ballet, it's Bayerisches Staatsballett in Munich, it's Semper Oper Ballet in Dresden, and a very special case is Ballett Dortmund in Dortmund. That is a small company, but led by a Chinese choreographer named Xinpeng Wang, and they really have a very extraordinary style, and they also fit great to other styles. Now they just had a premiere with Jean-Christophe Maillot from Monaco, and they danced with Romeo and Juliet. Very, very fine. And it really fulfills the heart with the joy when you see this. But of course, there are also problems. And of course, we don't have this this really choice of directors now. And for example, in Dresden, where we will have a very nice premiere tomorrow with David Dawson, also Romeo and Juliet, maybe very typical Dawson, very beautiful, very heartful, very exciting, not modernism, not loud, really very made with fine fingertips. Yeah. And I think the audience.
Is it a new choreography? Is it a new choreography, or is it
no, it's brand new. It's brand new. It's the first premiere ever. Yes.
Is it on a classical ballet style based, or is it on a more
yes, it's
contemporary?
Classic. Yes, it's neoclassical. He mixes up classical with really very modern movements, and he has a very typical style, and he's doing theme ballets as well as action ballets.
Yes,
very famous is Giselle, for example. But you know he worked 8 years to create it and to prepare and create it. So it's not, he's not doing this yeah, just like this all 3 months a new ballet. He's really someone who thinks about it. He's going around, he's reading, he's trying out, and so on. He has his plans. And in 2015, yeah, he had a very lovely premiere in Dresden too, with Tristan and Isolde, and that also was a new premiere, and I have to say I enjoyed it a lot. It was really something new to see this hopelessly loved, so consequently he has courage. It's not easy, I think. And here in Berlin, you can see 2 ballets by David Dawson, and their theme is human rights. So very always actual and very earnest, but his style is very aesthetic, you know. It's and that's what really separates him from typical contemporary ballet. Yeah, that beauty for him is something to be worth to have an expression, and not the expression without style. Not David Dawson. Yeah, and of course I hope, and I'm not the only one, that he will be the next ballet director in Dresden. in 2023. Aaron Watkin, who is actually there, will leave and then lead English National Ballet in London. And David Dawson is the chief choreographer, so to speak, not chief, but the main house choreographer in Dresden. And it really would fit very fine. He knows the company, has a very good style and all that. But the problem, of course, is that good choreographers who are in the circus to earn money do not need to have an own company. And a lot of them say, no, I don't want to have all this business and all this making business with the politicians, of course, to give them money and to go to the audience and all that. Leading a company is so much more than only choreographing. And so sometimes they say, oh, I don't want to do it. And that's a real problem in our society because of, we need people who give a company a face and a style.
Yeah. But is in Germany ballet linked and maybe has a support of politics, or is ballet working independently?
Yeah, that would be beautiful if ballet could work independently, but that won't go because ballet is very expensive. We all know that this. I think it's the most expensive art ever. In former times, film was very expensive, movie, but now we have these videos and so on. So, but ballet really is really expensive. You need all the dancers, you need all these rooms to make. You need so many ballet masters. You need people who help with their health. You need the stage. You need the music. You need live music. You need a lot of costumes. You need a lot of rehearsal. There's no art where you need so much rehearsal like on classical or modern classical ballet. Yeah, if you go to contemporary, they say, okay, I go from A to B and I don't need a rehearsal, maybe. Yeah, it's just one bam, 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 and they do it. And it's not, the conception is not that they really have to do this or really have to do this. It can depend on, it's not that accurate. But dance, ballet dance is a real accurate art. And you know it by yourself. It's a lot of rehearsals to be really good, and so that's why ballet is expensive. It's simple like that.
Yes.
And the next point in Germany is we have in the big cities money for ballet. Okay, we do have it, but apart from the big companies, the politicians more and more want to, I say it hard, want to destroy ballet art because they do not understand what it is about. And they think it's too classical and it's too high for normal people. And normal people should see something like contemporary dance or just a showbiz or just something that's more superfluous, something that's not really an utopia. Ballet is always something like an utopia. And that's why it's so important, and that's why it is an art form. Even when there is a czar, Petipa made Sleeping Beauty, and that was like an irony for his audience, because in Sleeping Beauty, the government is sleeping for 100 years, you know. And when Petipa went to in his brain went to India to create La Bayadère, the message was also Russia is not everything. We want to go out. We want to have an utopia. We have a look and an eye to other countries and other styles. And, you know, there was always the possibility to see criticism in between the lines.
Yes.
what great artists always did with music, with literature, with painting, and of
Yes.
course with dance.
Yes.
And nowadays, yeah, we miss this. First, there are less choreographers who are able to do this. Well, now that's a problem because the dancers' education more and more is really focused on physical technique. So they don't have time just to go out to the museum, just to read a book and say, no, today no rehearsal. Today I read this book. It's good for me. It's not just to have fun. It's good for my education. I want to create something. Nurea, for example, he had this possibility. He was a trouble kid. He just went out to the museum nearly every day in Leningrad. And of course, the teachers didn't like that, but they didn't throw him from school.
Yes.
And so he could, when he was young, yeah, really put things in his brain to connect.
Yes.
That's why he had such a good style later, and he could choreograph. When you're a teenager and you cannot really find a known world with art or with literature or music, when you only have to work like a soldier to get the leg higher, you never can be a choreographer. That's logically. I mean, where should it come from then? It has to come from your soul. And your soul must train working like a musician, like a dancer, like a choreographer, all that. And we don't have people with really good conceptions and really good doing it.
Yes.
And that's it's really a problem. I mean, John Neumeier isn't young anymore,
Yes.
and he's 83 now, and he has done a lot of beautiful ballets, but of course he won't do another 100 ones. And so we have people like Jean-Christophe Maillot, who is if you want to say he's a student by Neumeier, not a student, because Neumeier is not the main teacher, but he was a dancer, and his style is, when you see it, you can see it, that there is a little Neumeier in it, for example. And then, of course, we have people like David Dawson, who is really doing his own stuff, but of course, he is also influenced by Balanchine, Ashton, Neumeier, of course. And the basic always is Russian. Neumeier's most important teacher was Vera Volkova. She was Russian and she taught in Copenhagen. And this connection, Copenhagen, St. Petersburg, is so old and so important. You know it maybe by yourself. The Bournonville style that is very important and is created in Copenhagen by Auguste Bournonville in 19th century, always is inspired by Paris and St. Petersburg.
Yes.
And then dancers went from Copenhagen to St. Petersburg and became teachers. And they told the people how to dance Bournonville or how to change the Petersburg style, sometimes in the épaulement or in the port de bras. Yes, with a little Danish touch. So this exchange also is so important. And nowadays we have internet and videos, and we can really have a global art. It's not this problem that you have to travel 1 week or something like last century or for last century. It was really hard to come from Paris to Petersburg. It was always hard.
It was very tough. Yes.
Yes. And so, but now we had to have a political situation so that the people say we stop it. And we do not think about the following time. What will it mean for us and for the future and for the young people who dance if they cannot have this exchange, East-West? Ballet had this in the last 200 years a lot, really a lot. So what will come then? And we have to admit that it's really a Western problem that people think superficial développés and penchés, grand jetés, and that's all. They think technique is all.
Yes.
A lot of them really do think this, and we will not come forward with this. This is
No,
like
no,
walking.
no. Well, from one hand, you have a right, because I mean, from one hand, what you say about high developers and 180 arabesque penché and this, you're totally right.
And
But
more, even 200 degrees.
yes, yes,
Try seeing
like artistic gymnastic more.
exactly, and this is the direction ballet sometimes is going to.
Yeah,
And when a choreographer like Wayne McGregor
yeah,
comes, of course, he says, "Oh, it's funny. I use it." And
yeah,
of course, in special styles, you can use this,
yeah.
but not everywhere. Not at all.
No,
It's
you
not
cannot
that much
do
important.
you cannot do Les Sylphides or Giselle with the technique of dancers
It's awful then. Exactly. It loses its expression and its style.
yes,
And that's it. And young people sometimes don't want to hear this.
yes,
Yeah, because they think it's more important to train more and more and more, and not just for to have one period more, two periods more, and so on. Yeah,
yeah,
several periods, 7 periods, and they want to have the legs more than high, and then they think they are the best. And
yes. Well,
yeah, it's a
it's a
misunderstanding, of course.
it's a maybe a wrong opinion that young people are having today about ballet, because they think that being overstretched, that means pure technique, which
Mhm.
the pure technique of 50, 60 years ago was completely different.
Yeah.
And you are right. I agree with you what you say about this. But maybe what I think choreographers and artistic directors should try to do today, but this is my very personal opinion, is to find a system, something in between the two,
Mm,
know, of the old style and the new style of today, and
mm,
try to persuade the young generation to make them understand that being overstretched to make
mm,
9 pirouettes
mhm,
is too much. You
mm,
see, for instance, when I was a dancer, and my teachers used to tell me, I want to see from you 2 clean pirouettes.
yeah.
I don't ask you to make 3 or 4,
Mm, yeah,
but
yeah,
it must be a clean work.
yeah, yeah,
And this is what we need today in ballet. We don't
yeah.
need
Exactly,
to see so many
exactly.
turns.
And my experience is that the audience love this too, and they most of them couldn't say why. They couldn't use this word, oh, clean period, but they see how gorgeous it looks. And
Yes,
they are happy with it. And it's not a need to make 5, 6, 7 periods so that they are burned and say, great, although it wasn't great because it wasn't clean.
yes,
There are two different ways to feed the audience and to fetch them to ballet and bring them back. And if you ask me, they come back when they prefer the clean pirouette because it's more deep. They have a deep feeling with it. When they see circus, the next weekend they go to the circus or to have party or something because this, oh great, this is not something that really reaches the soul.
yes,
Yeah, but of course it's really the challenge for the teachers and choreographers and also directors to
yes,
tell this and to practice this to the people.
yes,
And you asked me if there will be money from the politicians in Germany for ballet. the problem is that they give a lot of public money for contemporary dance that is mostly, not always, but mostly not professionally done. I have to say it so clear because people, of course, are happy when they get money for the project. But when these projects are not really good and no one wants to see it, only the next colleagues, and there is nothing really to see where you can say this is an art development. It's only they fall back, they do things. Even Isadora Duncan would have said, well, go home and make your exercises. Or Grit Palooka or whoever tried to renew dance, Forsyth or whoever, they all, I think, honestly, would say, no, it's not good. But politicians say, oh, we don't care. And they just give money and money into the scene. So in the Corona year, they put more than 30 million euros in this scene. That's a lot. There are not 60 dancers on stage. They are 5 dancers or 2 dancers, sometimes 10 dancers, mostly 2 or 3 dancers, 1 performance. So, and you can imagine 30 millions for this freelance scene is a lot of money. If you go there with a ballet project, it's also possible to do small ballet projects with 2, 3, or 5 dancers, or 10 dancers, or 15 dancers on small stages, or in museums, in churches, in concert halls, wherever, in small theaters, of course. They say, no, you don't get the money. It's not modern. It's not our taste. They have people for juries that are owners of studios to rent it. And they rent it to people who do yoga there. And these people then decide about 10 million to go to art. So there is something wrong. And they do not ask really critical persons like me. Never. They know that I would decide very different for other artists. So they only ask people to be in the jury, who are kind of friends and who will decide in this direction so that there will be no really fantastic choreographer or freelance contemporary dancer. The only example they had to make a big career was Sascha Waltz. And Sascha Waltz is a special case because when she started, she was already the girlfriend of a guy who is a friend of politicians. And so they just had a lot of backwind, to be pushed directly by politicians and their friends. A big lawyer who has a lot of money and influence, who is also doing an art in the museums and so on, who is feeding with money and influence, and his friends and so on. They have connections. So. Yes. And that's why they said, okay, Sascha Waltz, with her small works in her small company, she always gets money. She gets always 2 million a year. Nobody knows exactly what for. Sometimes she produces something, but of course it's not that much. Other people could do much more with this money. Okay. And then they said she must be a ballet director, ballet intendant in Berlin, because we love her so much. And they just did it. And of course it went just like that. 2 years, they said, okay, she will come as the big new ballet chief. She will come. Then she was there. And after a few months, I think 3 or 4 months, she said, sorry, I have to go. I can't do it. So maybe they pushed, it's not clear if they pushed her out or if she said, I have to go. I think they really pushed her out because she couldn't come forward. She never learned ballet.
Maybe there was some
She
pressure of some, high important people.
Yeah. And
Unfortunately,
we all were
unfortunately,
glad that we were rid of her in ballet scene, but there were years where we didn't know what will be the future for the ballet in Berlin. And now we have you know, status intermedius, and we are waiting. And then Christian Spuck will come from Zurich, and Spuck was a famous young talented choreographer in Stuttgart years ago, and he made good pieces there. And then he went to Zurich, and for my taste, he lost his passion and his style and his musicality. Sometimes people do have something like a burnout, but they work on, and then the result is not as good as it should be. And now this guy comes to Berlin to pick up this company. It's really sad, because Berlin once had a famous company, a real good one, with Vladimir Malakhov, who was a brilliant dancer, one of the best in his generation. A talented choreographer, and he was very good in looking for talents around. He fetched a lot of good dancers and nice choreographers, and he really made a great program, and people loved it.
Yeah.
But
do you think all this situation about which is based on finance would affect the technique, also the way of working?
Yeah, two pair of shoes, because politicians are not at all into it. And even private donators aren't into it. And ballet scene has a known dynamic, of course. And when they work, they want to be the best, and they want to have competition, and they look what are doing the others and how can we develop. And when there's no personality who says, okay, this is interesting, more expression, more theme, more style, more content. If there's no one who can do this, they just will do technical things, of course.
Yes.
Berlin had one chance after Vladimir Malakhov, and that was Nacho Duato, who came directly from St. Petersburg at this time, where he has worked. And he's one of these connecting people too. He's from Spain, but he had his education in London, and then worked at Mikhailovsky Theater in St. Petersburg. And he came with very good ballets, and he created a very interesting piece. His style was often very dark in his theme ballets. The audience was asking, why is it so dark? Why it is so heavy? But I think that's legal, that the audience has to go through a development too, and not always only says bravo, bravo. That's circus, not art. And Nacho has a talent to do classical ballets. It's not his favorite, but he's brilliant with this. And he brought his Sleeping Beauty to Berlin, and the audience loved it. The dancers loved it. I loved it a lot. It was a modern classical version, and it was really something to see twice or three or four times, because it has really it had a lot of flair. But yeah, politicians after 4 years said, Nacho, go home. We want something more modern. We now want to have Sasha Waltz and all that, and you cannot do this when somebody is building up something. You cannot say go home. Yeah, that's what they did with Malakhov, and I'm not sure somewhere else it's so awfully what they decide. For Hamburg Ballet, they really decided to fetch Demi Volpi, who is a very young guy, more sporty, and he's a choreographer with one big success because a lot of technique after a famous children's book,
Yeah.
and the rest is going like this, his
Yeah.
choreography. He's not a genius, not at all.
Mm.
So they chose him to be the follower of big John Neumeier. What shall this be? I
Mm.
mean, what shall this be like? They want to keep the Neumeier repertory, but they want to have something new. And
Mm.
they couldn't find something better, obviously. It, I mean, it's really that you say, oh, why don't they ask around people who really know something? And the funny thing is, Neumayer himself had, and the politicians, they had a jury, yeah. So that Neumayer doesn't say this is my choice, but they say they had a jury. But the jury was all, they were all just friends of Neumayer.
Yes. Well, I think
It,
that
it's senseless then. It's
Germany
senseless.
is experiencing a very gloomy situation in ballet, in the world of art and culture, because I think that everything is orbiting around finance and
Exactly.
not the real
Exactly.
art.
Exactly.
What would you think if Frederick Ashton would have been still alive?
Oh, great.
And, what would
Come
you
here. Frederick, come here. So frustrating.
what would the politician now be the reaction if you say Frederick Ashton is going to make a choreography?
I don't know. I don't know if they would see. I don't know. I even don't know when John Omeyer would start today. I don't know if they would give him a chance because he wasn't a star dancer.
Yes,
And in Stuttgart we have a problem too because they have the heritage of John Cranko, of course, but in few years this is not protected any longer. So because Cranko died so early in 73.
mm,
And so anybody then can dance Cranko if he wants to. We don't know how. And of course, the better companies will rent coaches from Stuttgart, so everything will be fine. But we're not sure. And the problem, of course, is that Stuttgart then, but not Stuttgart, but Reed Anderson and Dieter Gräfe, they cannot have the money then because they cannot
yes,
sell the license then when it's
yeah,
over. And in Stuttgart, they had really a wonder with ballet choreographers. It was Uwe Scholz, it was William Forsythe, John Neumeier, and Jerry Killian, and they all went through Stuttgart Ballet to become great choreographers with a known signature.
yeah,
And since then, it's difficult. They have this Christian Spuck, they have this Demis Volpi,
mm,
they have several choreographers, but no one is a genius. You really can say that.
mm,
And they try to find a new follower for Krenkel. So they do a lot. They have twice or three times a year big premieres with new small pieces by their dancers. But the dancers are people who have to work 8 hours a day with the body. And it's not said that they are all choreographers.
no,
So,
no,
and the actual director there is a gorgeous, really marvelous ballet master. He
yeah,
was a star dancer, Thomas Dettrich, and his talent in coaching is extraordinary. But he cannot really lead the company for style or for looking for choreographers. He just can do what other people say. Take this, take this. He is successful. He is successful, like Edward Klug,
yes,
um, who is doing ballet, sometimes nice, sometimes not nice, in my opinion. Not always good, really, and not so very interesting. So, but Tamash does not have this in it to say, I want to create a company with different styles and with a face, you know. So there's no one. I would say this is the perfect ballet director, actually, apart from maybe Peng Wang in Dortmund, but
Yeah,
he will leave in 2 years. You know, he will leave in 2 years. And Neumeyer did not use the chance um, to look for a good follower, or maybe two. He has Lloyd Riggins, and Lloyd should have done it, but obviously politicians said no, he's not a glamorous person, he's very modest, and he's not so good in heavy communication. Maybe they want one like this Demis Volpi,
yes,
who looks like from a commercial video.
yes,
I wrote that he seems to be, if you want to have it, he looks like a GI, like an American GI. Hello, Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. It's just this thing. I mean, if you need it in arts, try it, but you won't be successful with it.
mm,
In 2 years, people will say, Hamburg Ballet? Oh, once they were great.
yes,
So, and yeah, politicians don't think about it. They
yes.
think about their own.
How does the audience reacts with all this situation?
Well, there are a lot of rich old people in Germany who fill the opera houses. They just come whatever you show.
Mm,
They come. Uh, well, there are exceptions. Sascha Wald's production, they did not come. They didn't like it. And when there is contemporary dance in ballet stage, we had this here in Berlin, very experimental things and so on, and they didn't like it too much. Of course, few younger people then come just to see it, have a drink, and go to the party. In my eyes, this is not what ballet should do.
yes,
Just to be, um, the appetizer, than to have a party with techno music and all that.
mm,
And I really think art should be something else. So, and of course, the houses try to find new audience. They have a lot of education programs with workshops and open rehearsals and interviews and blogs by themselves. And they are really trying. That's
yes,
okay. They are trying to fetch people.
yeah,
But really, to be a fascinator, you really need an idea you want to tell the people.
yes.
And we miss this in Germany. Definitely, definitely.
But
And
to make it, just to make a little difference, uh, this is what I don't understand. How come Germany is in this situation and also Italy and France? I mean,
mm,
many countries of Western Europe, but the only one who, I mean, who is fighting to keep a good situation in this ballet is, for instance, the Royal Opera House in England. They have their own repertoire, they have their own
mm,
way to finance, they have their own way to protect the ballet
yes,
art form.
yes, of
Now,
course.
how come that Germany is sinking into such a deep situation?
Mm,
Maybe they would try to copy a little bit of what English Royal Ballet is doing, you know, because there is always something good also in the administration, how to finance, how to hold the money, how to pay the dancers, how to run a ballet company. This concept could also have some benefits to Europe,
mm,
you see, because it's not only a question of finance, it's how you finance, for what purpose you finance, how much money you give,
exactly.
And this is what
Yes, and
the point
it's
of
a
view.
real problem. They really support contemporary dance and yoga and Pilates,
Yes,
and they do not support free ballet
mhm,
apart from the big companies. Um, I think it's even hard to find a good ballet school for the child
yes,
in Germany now, and that's really very sad because children that go to the ballet, of course, found ballet families and then go to the ballet performances, and
yes,
their children will go to the ballet and to the ballet performance. So just to keep ballet in the culture, in the mind of people, it's absolutely important to have children to dance, not only professionally,
yes,
but and I think also if you practice ballet correctly, it's very healthy. It also has elements of Qigong
mm,
and of all these folk dances that were very organic for the body.
yes.
And no one says that normal kids should dance 8 hours a day.
No,
If they do ballet 2 or 3 times a week, 2 hours, for example, 1 or 2 hours, they really can improve their health and their body and their mind and their whole development. And this in France, in former times, they really knew it. And doctors said to the child, when a child couldn't walk, the doctor said, bring the child to the ballet
yes.
so that it will, yeah. Now they say it needs an operation and it needs physiotherapy and it needs pills and all that.
Mm.
They don't even try ballet to be good for body and mind.
For the physique, yes,
It's knowledge that is lost.
yes.
And in Germany, they never had this knowledge. And it was always a big problem since I am here. Even when I was a child, it was hard to find good ballet teachers.
Mm.
Yeah. And this situation has not improved at all because they have wonderful, first in the 80s, they had aerobic teachers just for making money. Then yoga came and all these several kinds of gymnastic came, and of course lambada and all these
Yes, all these
hotter
modern things.
dances,
Mm.
yes, and tango and so on. And mostly, actually, it's contemporary dance and yoga, and all the money and all the resources go there. And they build up studios for them, and they make children courses for babies and mothers and all that. They do a big commercial stuff with it, and they get the money from the politics, from the communities. And so where does ballet stay? I really often get letters from old ballet teachers who are in a sorrow about this because they have a good school and so on, and they have to. Nobody wants to take it.
Mm.
Yeah, they
Yes.
want to make something out of it, a
Mm.
fitness studio or a Pilates studio or something else. But um, it's really sad because politicians. I have really the impression it's not that they hate ballet and classical music, but uh, they are in a state of anxiety because it's maybe because it's so gorgeous and it's
But let's say
really
to be
it's more
honest,
than cinema because
let's say that
it has so much influence onto the mind of the people.
yeah,
That's why it's not superficial at all, and that's why big industry not always likes classical and ballet arts because uh, it's it's high and it makes people calm and clear and they don't buy everything then,
yeah,
if you support techno music and people come out, yeah, give me the next drink,
yeah,
just give me the next food, they don't think about, it's they are in a different mood then.
Yes.
And I think
It's
it's
a very difficult situation because
yes,
I think
yes.
that some people as politicians in Germany, maybe this is my impression, but like a little bit who more, who less, but it's the same situation in many European countries. Politicians close their eyes at the wrong moment.
Mm,
And so that means that they forget ballet and they don't really care about ballet. They only care about financing the things that
mm.
goes and matches for them,
Yeah, exactly.
and which is a shame. But do you think there would be a solution to get out from this situation?
There's always hope. There's always hope.
Well,
But
can you try to be a fighter for this?
I don't know. Nobody knows what will happen. Maybe one day there will be a movement against um, dancing hard like fitness just to get muscles. That's actually what people do when they go privately to the ballet. They, I mean, there's less poetry, less fantasy, and it's also the fault of the parents, of course. I don't say that they are all the same. Of course there are some ballet schools,
Yes.
they really make nice performances and they care for really true ballet, and the children really learn something. But if you see the whole situation,
The global situation, yes.
yes, and yeah, or the situation just in Germany, I can't know everything, but in Germany it's um the fashion goes just to be healthy and tough and strong and fit, and maybe they use ballet for this, but they are not interested in poetry and humanity and giving something and having a connection to spiritual things. Ballet really is a spiritual art, just like classical music. It's not only body, it's also the highest mind.
Yes.
And yes, and it's really sad that they forget it so often. And I mean, when you say in Great Britain everything is fine, I don't know if everything is fine, but I don't. You said didn't say it like this, but you know
I
what I
think
mean.
maybe it's
You should
better.
not forget that Great Britain only has a ballet tradition for 100 years now, roundabout. It's really very young art still in Great Britain, and they pushed it and built it up against Soviet Union because ballet was one of the big triumph in Soviet Union, and everybody wanted to see Bolshoi and Kirov all over the world. They adored it, and that's why people in Great Britain said we need a known ballet. We don't want to wait until Bolshoi comes once a year to on the island. We want to have an own ballet. And then they really were very fine in doing it. And Ninette de Valois and Frederick Ashton and then Kenneth Macmillan, they really build up great things. And today they have ballet, Scottish ballet and Northern ballet and Birmingham ballet, even smaller companies trying to do good things. And in London, really, with the English National and the Royal Ballet, wow, it's wow. And the school is still famous. So,
Yes.
but don't forget it has a political background. It was in
Yes.
conquering, and that's why now they push it, of course, because they say we want to have it against Russia now. So it's like a competition.
Yes.
And
But this is what I'm trying to emphasize. Why doesn't Germany try to imitate England?
now, because Germany has a very different history, and when Germany had to restart 1945, after this horrible Nazi disaster, they had to do what mainly America said. And America sponsored, for example, abstract paintings, big exhibitions and artists, because the Nazis made the Germans believe that abstract art is no art. And so the USA said, we make culture education so that they see that Pollock is art and all that. Yeah. And of course, they had an interest too in ballet and dancing because they had it in the USA. They had Balanchine and they had Martha Graham, and both are really national arts for their own understanding. And so they supported it, of course. And in East Germany, we had the situation that Soviet Union said, okay, of course you need to have ballet here in Germany. And you have good sportsmen, why not good dancers, good musicians in Germany? So let's do it. And they really had a great ballet there. They had wonderful dancers, very interesting choreographers. Tom Schilling, for example, is unforgettable. He still lives, but he said, I do not allow to dance my ballets anymore because I was working for the system of socialism. So, and if there is no society that wants socialism, you should not see my art. It's really sad because it nice ballets, really nice. Big belly, smaller belly, really, really good. And we wanted to have a tradition, you know, but we don't get the licenses. We can't show it anymore. And sometimes you can see it for workshops or so, because there are still dancers living that dance the roles, and then they work with younger dancers. And so sometimes to see just an excerpt is allowed, but he doesn't give the permission to see a whole piece on stage. So that's it. But we had a good teacher here in Berlin, very hard one, Martin Puttke. The funny thing is he came from West Germany to East Germany. And he wasn't a ballet dancer first. He came very late to ballet, but he was very good in training people. And he went to Moscow to choreographic school, and he learned a method, and he came back, and he really made worldwide famous dancers like Steffi Scherzer and Oliver Matz, who now had trouble with their school in Zurich and are coming back to Berlin now. That's why, but they are not young people anymore. Yeah. So, but
do you give any hope to a better situation in the next decade in Germany?
Well, the best is that we are not alone, or I am not alone. There are a lot of people that really want ballet to be an art with heart and not kitschy artistic circus.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the hope we have. And then, of course, there will always be young people who like to move in ballet. So I'm not afraid that no one wants to become a ballet dancer. Of course, we still don't have enough men in Germany. It's really absurd in the schools. Only the little girls are sent to ballet. It's really hard to find. It's really stupid because especially for the manly body, ballet is great. When you are getting an adolescent guy, it's great to control the muscles.
Yes, but it's a very athletic training.
Yes, but this is of course a fault by politicians and of course by economy. They sell a man's picture that must be hard and rough and great And
yes, well, but ballet.
even the gay people doesn't want to be poetry. No, the gays nowadays also want to be strong. And it's really, it's in our society, the ideas of beauty and of fitness and all that, it directly comes from Hitler sometimes. We have to say this. And it's really sad that at the universities we do not have teachers who really have an eye on this. They cannot decide between Leni Riefenstahl, who really had a Nazi ideology and beauty idea, and just expressive artists from this time who worked exactly for the contrast. You know, nowadays we have a lot of knowledge in the world, and that's really sad. Yeah.
Well, maybe technology and internet has helped to improve this knowledge, as you say. And you, as a choreographer, how did you became choreographer?
Yes, well, I didn't have a professional career until this. I started, and I also started school with 5. That was very early, and I said, that's not ballet. I don't want that. I want to go to the ballet. And then they put me into a ballet class, and I was happy there. So this was my story with how I came to ballet. And dancing or the beauty of ballet was always in my mind. And as a teenager, I started to choreograph for me and also for others. And I was training sometimes with professional dancers, and I had guest days at professional schools, but I wasn't satisfied there. And I think they maybe couldn't understand me because I was very creative, and I wanted to do my own stuff, you know. And that was really hard when there was no time, there were no rooms. I have to say that my family did not support my artistic ideas, so I was really little alone with it. And it was more easy for me to say, okay, I was always writing, but it was after a performance of The Lady of the Camellias from John
Yes.
Neumar. Yeah, and I want to tell the people why it is good or why it is not good. And
Yes.
this is what I want to learn. So, and then during studying, I was dancing besides, and I was working at the theater, and they hired me for being actress and assistant of two directors. But immediately I was dancing, and they gave me something to dance on stage and something for choreography. So, and um, yeah, and it was with good people. It was with Dietrich Haug and with Dieter Gagstetter from Munich, and I really enjoyed this time. And I have a story with her health because she had a very bad accident, and doctors told her never to dance again. And she went back to Africa and looking for her village, learned dancing and walking and all that really without having problems. And so she went back to the professional dance, and she was one of the gurus of the workshop scene. She was great. And
Yes.
she was working with a lot of actors also and dancers. Yes, but for me, I also was very curious. and I wanted to have knowledge, not only in ballet, in culture, in science, and a lot of things. I was really, so being a journalist for me was very good, to have interviews with people who really can say something and writing about it and so on. And then in 2018, there was by occasion a girl with them doing a video, and she said, I need some dancers. And I said, I can help you. It was for her. And then she said, yeah. And I said, who's doing the choreography? And she said, I don't have choreography. What's that? Do I need it? I said, yes, you need it for a music video. You need a choreographer.
Yeah.
The dancers cannot. And I said, okay, don't worry, I will do it. I always could it, and I will do it. And we both, yeah, we just trusted in each other, and it worked.
Yeah.
I became the music. I'm doing my plans. When I come to a rehearsal, I'm very well prepared, and I know what I want,
Yeah.
and it's to study. And sometimes the dancers, of course, are allowed to help me, but not often. It's mostly that I do it and then
Are your
set it.
are
And
your
I love to.
choreographies based on which style, classic or contemporary?
Yes, people say it looks like a little Maurice Béjart. It's in this
Ah,
line.
okay.
And yes, and of course I have plans for big ballets, but no one will give me the money and possibility to do it, I know. But I have plans for small ballets, and these small ballets, I find possibilities to make them real. And sometimes in a church, during, where they really pray, and it really fits to all that.
Yeah.
Or in museums,
In public
I
places,
like.
in public places. Yeah.
Yes, in public places, or I like the combination with movies and a cinema that has also a
Yeah.
stage. And of course, I would love to do something for a gala or so, but there must be the opportunity, and someone has to pay for it and all that. And it's not easy. But I don't give up. For me, it's enormous. In my age, I'm not young anymore. To do this. I mean, it's just coming back to something I have done when I was very young, when
Yeah.
I was a teenager and 21 or 22. And now, as an older woman, I found that I can just go on, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun for me, and I'm really grateful for doing both, and it's in former times, there were often people, for example, writing and being a critic,
Yeah.
or painting and being a journalist,
Yeah.
and writing about.
Yeah.
In ballet, maybe I'm one of the first in this row, but someone must start with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we are approaching the end of our interview. What
Okay.
is your wish? What is your wish that comes from your heart that you would like to present to the young dancers?
Yes, that they find the connection between their mind and the world and their body, and they shall not believe the body is everything in dance. Of course, we see the body first, but the inner soul must really be part of the art, and also of the class when they do it every day. And I wish the best to them, and I wish them the best teachers.
Yeah.
And
It is very important
but
also
maybe
to help also the teachers, not only the
yes,
dancers.
yes, and maybe I can have a private wish that people who like this interview here just go to YouTube and look at Pour Adeline. This is a solo I did with Adrien Pastor from our Auto Ballet Essen in Berlin, in a famous museum, with the Prinzessinnengruppe of Shadow. And I think it's something classical and modern. Yeah, Beethoven music, and maybe you like it, and maybe you just give me a call or an email because you want something like this. Yeah.
For sure, everybody will go to YouTube now. And what is your wish that you would like to extend to the members of the Ballet International group?
Yes, that they practice freedom and respect and discipline with each others, and that East and West will find together, and that they restart giving um, invitations to galas, for example. So on Cuba in these days, a ballerina from Berlin who was born in Cuba danced together with Semyon Chudin from Bolshoi. So this was one of these normal international ballet
Yeah.
reunions. And I think it would be great when we have this again, that everywhere in the world, we do not care about war. We are artists and artist lovers, and we want to develop together and not against each other. And
Yes,
that
we
would be
must
great.
always
Yes,
work hand by hand,
yes,
all the corners
yes.
of this planet to
And
be
with
united.
respect, of course.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, I agree with
Exactly.
you. I agree with you.
Yes. Yes.
Madame Gisela Sonnenburg, I wish to thank you very much for having you in
Thank
this
you.
wonderful interview that you gave a beautiful layout of the situation in Germany and also internationally. And we keep in touch. And with your permission, would you accept that I upload this interview on YouTube?
Yes. Yes, of course. And that's why we do it. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
And
very much.
I will send you the link then by email, and you will see the link of YouTube on
Yes.
the Ballet International group also. So thank you very much,
Yes.
Mrs. Sonnenburg. You are really a great artist, and it was very blissful to have you online. And I have learned a lot of things that I didn't know before.
Thank you, Jean-Pierre. I hope I wasn't too fast and woo woo woo. But yes, it was a pleasure for me to talk with you, and you are a
So,
great person with a great style and attitude, and you have heart. I see it in your eyes, and you have a lot of patience, and that's a quality we all can learn from. Yes.
thank you very much for your kind words. I look like a very patient person, but I'm not patient. So when I explode like a volcano often.
I see. Okay. Okay.
It's a very,
Let's
it's a very fake calmness that I have to be like that in the interview. But when I teach, I'm totally different.
You are totally different. I would like to see it one day. Maybe it's possible. Maybe we
Well, we never know, you know, we never
yes,
know. Life is made of surprises.
yes. Internet helps a lot. I mean,
Yes, yes.
yeah. This is really great invention of our times. I'm really internet fan, and I cannot understand people who say, "Oh, internet is devil stuff." No, no, it's really a communication that gives us a lot of
Very
yeah,
important, yes. It depends how you use it, and for what purpose you use
exactly,
internet. You have to use it for good.
exactly. Yes.
So I wish you a
Oh,
very nice day, many
thank you.
kisses, and
Yes.
thank you again.